Hello, everyone. This is Zayami from FilmFestivalCircuit.com and the Oregon Short Film Festival. And right now we're gearing up for our spring event, which is going to take place on March 17th at the beautiful historic Clinton Street Theater in Portland, Oregon. And today we're talking with one of our participating filmmakers. Harry Waldman is the creator behind Enter the Room. Harry, thank you so much for meeting with me today.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks so much for having me. Great to be chatting about my film, and yeah.
Absolutely. So we've previously discussed Enter the Room. You're part of Oregon Screams in fall last year. And so I want to know a little bit of a checkup. Your film Enter the Room has been doing the festival circuit. How's that been going for you?
Yeah, thanks for asking. It's been going well. It's definitely been a little exhausting, but a lot of fun too. It's played at a number of festivals.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, I would say too. I don't have an exact finish date, but I have a number of festivals, including yours, of course, which I'm super excited for coming up this weekend.
Excellent.
Yeah, over the next couple months, that one's going to be playing at a number of festivals, and then actually I have another short film, Bay for Blood, that's kind of just began its festival run. So that one's going to be screening at a couple places too. So just looking forward to continuing the festival run in general. But yeah.
Excellent. So you're doing the festival run with this. You've been doing it for a while. I'm wondering, you've probably viewed Enter the Room various times in different festival settings, different screen settings, different audiences. Do you have any new ideas or new thoughts about your film? Anything that worked really well? Anything that you'd want to change a little bit in the future?
Yeah, absolutely. To start with, I'd say to start with the positive, the biggest surprise for me when I started screening Enter the Room was that not so much in the later half as the film kind of descends into madness, but in the first half, I've not super laugh out loud, but I've gotten a decent amount of uncomfortable laughs,
Okay.
more than I envisioned. Because I guess when I thought about making this film, when I wrote the screenplay for it, it came from a very personal and pretty dark experience.
Totally.
But yeah, something I've learned with this film, and I guess my films in general, there definitely are hints of pitch black comedy to them.
Okay, totally.
So yeah, I've definitely gotten more laughs than I anticipated, and that's been a good thing.
Okay.
It was a little jarring at first for me, but it's something that I've had many conversations with filmmakers, with friends, family, and they've told me, they think it's a good thing overall.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so that would be the positive. I'd say negative, there would be two things that it's something, because the film is in the middle of the festival run and it's being viewed probably on a daily basis. I
Right.
don't want to mess with the project on Film Freeway, but there is near the end of the film, just with the bright flashing lights, I've definitely gotten a few notes. Hey, you should probably have some trigger warning.
Okay, totally.
So,
Yeah,
so when I finalize the film, that is the first thing I'm going to do in the beginning, before
totally.
the film starts. I'm going to have a trigger warning for that. And then I would say the second thing, there's just one scene, I don't want to give away too much of the film, but there's one scene in particular, which basically the character, Brian, is going off on Jeremy about sitting on his bed. And I think the first half of the scene is really good. It seems to be one of the more powerful parts of the piece, but it goes on for a very long time. And I've received a couple notes stating, maybe I could cut that down a little. So I think once the festival run is over, I'll probably look it over for other little things, but those are the two main things that I would like to change before I deal with distribution.
Okay, well, I love that, and I mean, I think these are all good notes. Um, you know, Quickening the pace and getting stuff feedback like that's always super valuable because it's something that you might not necessarily see, and maybe not everyone feels that way. But if you get that general consensus, it's always good to respond to that. And yeah, it's funny to hear about the ending because I love that ending, but it's a tough watch.
Yeah,
It really does something to your senses.
absolutely.
Also, I'm curious if you have any tips for film festival going and what you've kind of learned or what you've experienced in terms of networking and socializing at events like that.
Yeah, just for tips, I think, oh boy, there's a lot. I'm just trying to think. I'm trying to think of the most important ones because I've learned so much doing. Because even though I've been making films for enough, I mean, enough time, not a ton, but I just started. Enter the Room was the first. That's my first professional film, and
Okay.
that's the first film I really put out there to festivals. So when I started submitting it last year, I had no idea what to expect.
Totally.
So I'm trying to, I would say the most important things, I think having a budget is important. I'm okay. I make a good enough living and have enough saved where I'm fine financially, but I probably spent more than I planned on spending.
Totally.
So I'd say having a budget is very important. I think too, well, of course, of course, it's nice to get exposure all over the place. I do think that the real value in film festivals, and this is where I have a little issue, no offense to all of them, but my
Right.
experience with online festivals has been a little hit or miss. That
Oh, totally.
there have been a few I've been a part of it I've liked, but generally it's more just felt like I'm throwing submission fees at maybe getting a certificate and nothing else, and it just didn't feel like I really got the value out of that. So
Okay, totally.
I think my main piece of advice is focus on submitting festivals that you actually think you can go to.
Okay.
And of
Being there in
course,
person.
yeah, the closer the better if it's within driving distance, since I live in, Chicago, anything in the Illinois, even in Indiana, Michigan, they're pretty close. But even if, you're going to fly, as long as you have the budget for it. My parents, they live in New Jersey, so I apply to a lot of festivals in the New Jersey,
Oh,
New York
totally.
City area. It's budget wise, it's much easier just worrying about the plane ticket, not having to worry about food and lodging. My parents are
Totally.
nice enough to let me stay with them. So I think things like that. I think the main thing I've gotten out of the festivals is it's been nice to get some recognition. It's been great just networking with other filmmakers, following their stuff, and just the in-person experience, seeing how people in the theater react to your film is so important. So yeah, I really think for filmmakers, be careful with your budget and really try to focus on the festivals that you can actually go to. Those would be my main pieces of advice.
Well, I love that advice. I think that's great guidance because a lot of people starting out in the festival run don't know exactly what to submit to. They're sort of lost. They don't know, should I go West Coast, East Coast, whatever. But I like that. Submit to festivals you can actually show up to and get that reward of being able to network and meet people. Um, tell me about Bay. What is it? Bay of Blood.
Bay for Blood, but
Bay
yeah,
for Blood. Yeah, tell me about that project.
yeah, it's another project I'm very fond of. It is different from Enter the Room in ways, but similar in that both of these films were both based on very personal experiences. I had pretty negative experiences actually.
Okay.
So it's cool though that these negative experiences, I kind of started off just getting these stories off my chest, but then
Right.
making both films was not painful. I mean, sure, it was stressful, but it was very cathartic for me to make both of these. So, excuse me. Anyway, to get a little more into the story. So, whereas I might have explained in the other time we spoke, Enter the Room, really that was based on a relationship with a roommate and I that I had in college. With pieces of Brian being based more on the roommate. This film actually I don't want to use the word villain, but the uh, deeply troubled and disturbed character who's
Right.
kind of pushing the envelope. He's actually based on pieces of myself, which was pretty scary to make, especially considering
Really.
I've never done anything as crazy as he does, but kind of all my darkest thoughts manifested into this
Right.
character.
Crank him up
He,
to 11.
yeah, he's basically a character. His name is James, where he had a relationship with a childhood friend Rob, and they have a relationship in this, but you don't really know what's going on between them till later in the film. But even though they appear to be living with each other, hanging out with each other, etc., you can tell there's tension between them. Anyway, so Rob was based on a friend I had as a child who we had a pretty toxic relationship. I later
Mm,
learned that he didn't really like me. He kind of enjoyed messing with me. So he would pretend to be my friend and then
okay.
do a lot of things behind my back. So just having relationships with him and some other people like that manifested all these really dark thoughts of feeling like I'm being ditched, I'm being taken advantage of. And that is kind of what manifests into James. And you sort of see him take his anger out regarding some of his childhood relationships on all of those around him. So
Mm,
it was a little scary writing the character, knowing that pieces of me are
it's
in
heavy.
him.
Yeah.
But I'm really glad I did it. And he's actually, of all my short films, I do think Brian might be the most memorable, but not that I like, but the character I had the most fun writing and that was the most cathartic for me was probably James, just because I resonate with James a bit more
Totally.
than I resonate with Brian.
Well, that sounds really fascinating. I would love to see that at some point. And you said this is just starting the festival run.
Yeah, and I've started circulating it out. I would need to check because it gets a little hectic with all the festivals, but I
Totally.
believe I have just recently submitted to a couple of the festivals you're part of. So
Excellent.
I hope you get to take a look at it, and I
Yeah,
hope
I
you
can't
enjoy it.
wait. Excellent. Well, do you have any closing thoughts on the festival this weekend? Going to show Enter the Room at Oregon Short Film Festival. Any closing thoughts about that?
Just I'm super excited to go, especially because most of the festivals I've gone to have been either by me in Chicago or a lot on the East Coast. It's I was actually out in Utah a couple months ago for a festival I had a lot of fun at, but generally I don't get out to the West Coast very much. So I'm just super excited to go to the festival, see some awesome films, see my film on the big screen,
Excellent.
collaborate with network with some other filmmakers, and yeah, I'm sure it's going to be a blast.
Great. Well, Harry, I cannot wait to screen Enter the Room once more in Oregon on March 17th, and I'm looking forward to seeing you at the festival.
Absolutely, I'm looking forward to seeing you too.
All right. Take care.
You too.